and you're going to get a little prompt on your screen. So tonight is our last discussion in the Free to Be series, and it's the discussion of really being on-site, off-site, and online. And while that language may feel distant and, you know, really good alliteration, I am proud. That one was mine and not Anne. So I feel like I've entered some of Anne-ness by, you know, having the 3 O's. And yet we've all experienced on-site ministry. Even Christine, it may have been a few years, but we've all experienced on-site ministry, meaning on-site physically at the church. So we're going to take this in pieces, but my first question for all of us tonight is, what is one of your favorite either memories, places, or experiences about community and ministry on site at Calvary? So think about that. It doesn't have to be the best one, but what comes to mind about really good ministry on site at Calvary? As it comes, just feel free to express that.
Certain songs sung during worship.
Yeah. Hearing that organ again in person is a gift. And the way our new sound equipment and amazing tech team have captured that for our online folks. Yeah. Thanks, Sharon. Others. Yeah, Lori.
I have to say all the holiday celebrations, Christmas, you know, Easter. I love being in the church with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill and then Christine.
Okay, there's sometimes some tremendous power that comes from singing, and when the choir is assembled and it's a song that everybody really knows, and they don't even have to think about the words, they've known them all their life or whatnot, and that power just comes out. And I can't remember a specific time, but from time to time we witness that. And that's a really joyful thing, you know, to see the church all singing together, because, you know, not every song is like that, but, you know, some are, and it's really great when it does happen.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Christine and then Judy Goldman.
I was just going to say that same thing.
Oh, really?
That when the choir is singing and they sing this amazing anthem and you get goosebumps, and I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's just so amazing. You feel it inside. I think music can touch your emotions easily.
Yeah.
So,
Great minds.
like you, Bill.
Yeah. Thanks, Christine. Judy Goldman.
Well, I think last year was probably the only year I've been here for Christmas, and then of course we weren't in the church physically. So, but I think probably Easter for me, and the Hallelujah chorus. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Nancy, Walter, and then maybe Robin's hand, I think. So Nancy, Walter, Robin.
Well, I can't sing a note, and the music doesn't. Some music gets to me, Hallelujah chorus, but the small group discussions, small groups, and the sermon are what I look forward to.
Thanks, Nancy. Walter.
Well, I've been in the choir all my life, and I didn't think about the congregation's reaction to our anthems. So now you put the pressure on me.
You didn't know.
Robin.
What I thought of was we had a Lent service, and it was in the chapel. And you were there, Morgan, and you had us write down something that was burdened on our hearts, or something you just said, like, just give it to God. And everybody that was in the service is very quiet. I mean, you didn't talk to nobody, but I felt like there was this presence because we were together, and we would write it down, and we walked through foot of the cross courtyard,
Mhm.
and we went over and we burned it.
Mhm.
And we just said, God, take it. And that just meant a whole lot.
Oh,
Mhm.
It was.
Yeah.
You
Bill.
know, this is not a worship experience in a strict sense, but you could make a case for it being a worship experience. But during the pandemic, I spent a lot of days working in the church doing this and that. And to me, now that we've got people in the office and people are coming in to do things in the building and whatnot, that's just really fine. It's not that I stop and yik yak or visit or anything like that. It just makes me feel makes me feel less alone,
Mhm. Mhm.
It's- I rejoice in that. It's really good to, to come around the corner and the lights are on in the office and Judy's in there or whoever happens to be there, doing something, and it's just a nice smile on a wave sometimes, but it's a really nice thing.
Yeah, I agree. Y'all are way more holy than I am, because mine are not as holy as that. The eerie presence, if you were ever in the church, so Bill, kind of like what you were saying about when you have those moments where you're just in the church by yourself. And mine sometimes happen at lock-ins because students fall asleep. They think it's really cool to try to stay up, but they don't know that I carb them up on IHOP, and then we go watch a movie in the sanctuary, so they fall asleep. So that I don't have to worry about where they're at. But there's something very eerie and holy about walking through the physical site of Calvary. And one of my favorite places is walking past the foot of the cross courtyard. And Doug is interred in the top right. And there have been moments where I feel like his mischievous spirit is still at work trying to get to Corey Doty and Tom Hammond and the whole foot of the cross courtyard folks, right? Because there's been snowstorms that never really impact the plants out there, but there was one where just that one tree right next to the columbarium was this way, and it was right in front of Doug's interned plaque. And it was just this moment where I was like, seriously, dude, you have not been here, and yet your mischievous spirit from childhood to adulthood is still at work. And I love it. It's just one of my favorite things, because it never happens anywhere else. It's always mysteriously right around where he's at. And then the other is just there is a beautiful moment when there's a stillness in any service. And there's this moment where we're all still in together, and that everybody is present. So Robin, similar to what you were talking about, where there's silence, and sometimes we hope that folks can really be present in a service, but we can't manufacture it. But then you feel the energy in some capacity. And that is one of my favorite things about being in physical shared space. Fun note about the memory Robin shared, that also is when I almost set off the smoke alarms, because some of the paper from the prayer wall was cardstock. Don't burn cardstock inside, in case you are ever wondering.
Oh, good note. Okay.
Unless you think that the fire department needs to be churched more,
Yes, that's right. Have you accepted Jesus? Why you're putting out a fire? That's a great evangelical tool, Bill, that I don't think many churches use enough.
Fire and
So there's a
brimstone.
thought. That takes it to a whole new place that I now love. So on site, we have these memories of physical spaces. It's why people invest in sanctuaries and chapels, to tell stories with stained glass windows, and to give our senses a tool or multiple tools to connect us to the divine. It's why
Edith had one more to add.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Edith, I am so sorry.
I was remembering Holy Week services in the fireplace room.
Mhm.
I think those are meaningful. You know, it's a small group, but it's very meaningful and thoughtful. The music is close and
Mhm.
I just feel they were more spiritual. Makes Holy Week more appropriate. And
Yeah. And the lighting, it shouldn't work in that space because it's not designed to, and yet it's one of the most warm spaces. And you're right. Sharon, thank you for identifying that. Edith, I'm really sorry. And so being in shared space, right? That shared energy that you all talked about. So we understand onsite. Online, we've been doing for a year and a half, just about. What is a favorite? And it doesn't have to be Zoom. It could be digital worship. It could be live stream even before the pandemic. We can go way back. But online, what is an online memory or experience that comes to mind for you? Nancy.
Easy. Bob's memorial service is the best.
So glad. Yeah, Walter.
Well, getting back the people who left, like Christine and
Yeah.
Rick Breitenbecker and others have now Becky Wolford. They're gone, but they're not gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Great.
Really good point.
Yeah, that was unthinkable.
And that couple from England.
Oh yeah.
Let's not forget them. They were wonderful.
That's right. Christine, have they still been worshiping via live stream?
off and on.
Off and on?
They've been pretty continual in the last 2 Sundays. I haven't seen them.
Okay.
Tony and Ruth.
Tony and Ruth.
Yeah,
Yeah. We went international in a whole new way.
their church had not opened yet in England, and it had opened then 3 or 4 weeks ago, but they still wanted to come to Calvary's in the evening because they said they just really like our service.
Wow.
Good.
Well, maybe post-pandemic we'll get to see them in stateside. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Ann and I talked about, wouldn't it be fun if we could have some sort of gathering that they could attend, but the time is so different that we could never do it. So
This is true. Unless somebody wants to rock a like 5:30 prayer in the morning, we can do early morning offices, but that's about it. So yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Back before our granddaughter was born, our daughter-in-law, who's from Japan, for those of you who don't know, we had a baby shower, which the Japanese didn't do, but she liked it. But we had it at like 2 in the afternoon, 2:15, 2:40, something like that. I don't know. And it's in the middle of the night in Japan, and there were all kinds of people showed up.
It was a Zoom.
Yeah, it was Zoom,
Zoom baby shower.
Yeah, Zoom baby shower. But yeah, she had all kinds of people show up. But, wow, you guys are dedicated.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Quite surprising.
Others online experiences that come to mind.
One that comes to mind was a normal Sunday morning worship service. And this, I think, was when we weren't doing the live streaming. It was prior to that. Anyway, all of a sudden, the special music that day was a clip of the men's chorus singing pre-pandemic. And that was special.
That was a good memory.
Partly because I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
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 I remember that Sunday. Yeah, Lori.
Well, I have to say the online services were really special to Mike and me because he wouldn't have been able to come to church. And we sat in our chairs, you know, one next to the other, and we both had our iPads, and we pushed the red arrow together, and it really was special. I still feel that feeling.
Yeah, what a good.
So,
one.
you know, for people that can't make it to church for whatever reason, and we do have a lot of people that aren't that well, I think it does serve an incredible purpose. And I'm glad that that was there for us then.
We still have 25 to 30 people on Sunday. So I
Yeah,
thought
and
it was raw.
those are watching units.
Yeah.
Those are watching units, meaning it could be more than that, but that is a huge shift from live stream numbers before pandemic.
Oh,
So
yeah.
folks are still connecting. Yeah. For
And
sure.
not everyone talks, but that's okay.
Christine's
Well,
like, I am here. Hi.
Well, I'm glad that it's on, that the Sunday services are on YouTube, because I actually watch it on my TV
Yeah.
rather than my
We do
computer.
too.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, it's on Facebook now too. So
Links there. The fanciness of Bill and his tech team. Christine.
I still remember the three wise men that you,
Oh.
the two pastors did. That was so good and so clever. And I laughed and laughed, and I laughed about it for days after. I don't know how you did that so well, so quickly. I just love that.
It was one of the most memorable Christmas pageants that I've ever seen. What you may not know is that Aubrey was the one offsite fanning her grandpa, Tim. And she was giving him cues and director's notes. Erin told us later. So lots involved, which is really exciting. Anyone
And
else?
John Crone in his toga.
That's right, from the balcony or the walkover.
It was great.
Lori, did I see a hand?
Yeah, I was just going to say the incredible creativity on every level, you know, the desert scene and all of that. The things that you created around Christmas to help us feel, you know, a part of things like that little Christmas card thing that we did. You know, all of those things really helped when we were housebound. It was nice to see that. And how can we forget Buster? I mean, I'm sorry.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Damon.
I rather miss Buster.
Yeah, when I was doing the announcements, he was like, "This is the last one." I was like, "That's not nice." My first time doing announcements back, and I'm the one who's like, "And that's it with Buster." I'm like, "Great, that'll go over real well."
What happens with Buster's wardrobe?
Oh, he still has many a closets and a helpful benefactor. So so fashion shows happen when he gets a new box and shipment of costumes. Or I guess they're just his clothes. I call them costumes, but they're clothes. So we'll just have to videotape it and share that in special e-news. Like, if you need a cheering up, here's Buster's fashion show. So, yeah.
And one more thing. Alice's announcements. Oh my gosh.
That's right.
I always thought she was kind of quiet, you know, and then this personality just exploded. And that was, I mean, I really felt like we got to see different sides of you guys in all of that.
Good observation.
Well,
One of Alice's references once said, she's very quiet to begin with, but once she feels comfortable, she's the life of the party. And Lori, I feel like for those of us on staff have been able to see it in different capacities. And if you work closely with her on a project, it comes out, especially if she's tired. But I feel like the congregation got to see it in earnest, in just like a really meaningful way.
In a
the
positive, great
announcements.
way. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Judy G and then Edith.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Can't wait to
Edith,
hang
and we'll come
there
back to
because
Judy.
My memory just flies away.
I completely understand. I feel it. Edith, what'd you have?
I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that the services are on YouTube, because my daughter in Massachusetts can hear the service and she can see me play the piano with Charlotte, which she wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Thank you.
awesome, Edith. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's a good thing at any time, especially during a pandemic, but anytime to be able to share
Mhm.
a performance like that with your family that, they couldn't. It would be a rare event where somebody could come across country just to see that. But this is
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, so cool. Judy.
I always especially enjoyed the Tuesday night thing when it was Pastors Pondering. I loved the Pastors Pondering series that you guys did, because we got to know things about you guys that,
Sure.
wouldn't normally get to know. So
Sure.
that was always fun.
Oh, I'm glad.
You guys still need to keep that up somehow.
Noted. Noted. For sure. So online took on a whole new life this past year, and it's about to take on a whole new life as we enter hybrid. And so we have touch points of what that looks like, and we've learned how church can build and grow and strengthen and offer the mundane as well, in times when the mundane felt so unattainable because we were all at home and needing the mundane of check-ins and regular church gatherings. The last question is offsite. What is a memory or experience of church, and however you define that took place not online and not at the church building? That's what we mean by offsite. So it could be in your home, it could be in a coffee shop, it could be in a park, it could be at the grocery store. I don't know. Anything that's offsite and not online. Robin.
Every time we had communion, I did it different every time. I got out glasses and cups and flowers and candle. I got out different stuff every single month. And it was fun. I liked it. Yeah. With our wheat thins.
Real wine.
Wheat thins.
Oh, wheat thins and wine. All you need is like a goat
There you go.
cheese to go along with that for a really good Jesus communion. Yeah. Thanks, Robin. Others
Well,
offsite.
can the offsite be before the pandemic?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not just strict.
Because
for the
I always
last 18
enjoyed the pub at
yeah,
Piccolo.
that's offsite. Yeah, that's a great example of offsite. And it's shifting to New York Deli News.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
that
it
will
is?
be its
Oh.
and the youth lounge. So those are the two new locations. So
And what
look
lounge?
for the youth lounge.
Oh, okay. At the church.
Yeah, great example. Others.
Well, by the way, every time I go to Piccolo's, which I do once in a while, I keep telling them that, because they aren't using that room yet. They're storing stuff in that room. I said, if you guys get that room back, call the church.
There you go.
You preach it.
Judy's always networking. Judy's always networking.
Yes.
Christine, what did you have?
I remember going to Black Forest when I was an ABY advisor with the youth for camping was for 2 nights, Friday and
Oh.
Saturday night. And I think the youth pastor was Deborah Bann.
Hmm.
And she she came to me Saturday night, well, Saturday around 6 p.m. And she said, I'm going to need you to do the sermon tomorrow because I have to go back to Denver.
Wow.
I got my heart started again.
Yeah. Nothing strikes fear more than a
Yeah.
layperson being asked to do a sermon at the last minute.
Oh man.
And
I'm
then
sure it was brilliant.
No. Well, I used the from when does my help come?
Oh
But
yeah.
we were in the hills and it was so windy that
Mm.
somebody was taping it. And then afterward, you couldn't hear a word I said. The wind was just blowing me, and the kids were balanced up to the cross. But I just remember that it was such fun.
Mm. Lots of Black Forest memories in our congregation, that's
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Others offsite? Edith?
Well, offsite, the choir got together during the pandemic in Bible. And
That's
Yeah.
right.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
a nice experience.
That was nice.
Outdoors and with the trees and nature,
Mm.
and just be able to hear the voices around you.
Mm.
So
It's beautiful. Thanks, Edith.
Something offsite, and this is many years ago. This is a strange one. When Calvary was doing sponsorship of particularly some Hmong families from Vietnam. I remember going with Gertrude Wyant to an apartment over in Southwest Denver. She was going to show them how to defrost the freezer in their refrigerator. It's the type of refrigerator like we have in the office, where you've got a small refrigerator, a small freezer inside the refrigerator. And I remember there was some reference to using a butcher knife, but we didn't do that. But anyway, I mean, to me, that was ministry in action. Gertrude going over, and I don't know how I got so lucky as to accompany her. This was part of adapting to American life.
Mm. That's wonderful, Sharon. Yeah, Walter and then Nancy.
Well, I mentioned Black Forest. The choir did several retreats at Black Forest. And besides singing, the big event was the basketball game. And one year we're choosing up sides, and only a few of the women wanted to play, and they were the last ones picked. And Ricky Moya was the organist at the time, and she was one of the last ones picked. And she was the star of the game. So a year later, the choir retreat, she was the first one picked. Sorry, guys, I'm pregnant. I can't play.
Oh,
Goodness. Nancy.
I was just trying to think of something off-site, and normally it's just not in me to go out and protest or anything, but thanks to the Keefs and anti-gun violence, I stood out on the corner of Hampton and Colorado Boulevard at rush hour with a sign with people from Calvary and other churches, and horns were honking, I think favorably, but made an impression on me because that was really out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. If you've never done the vigil, it's quite something. So yeah, Nancy, great job with that. Lori, yeah.
I've always loved going down to First with a contingency from Calvary during Pride Week for the Interfaith Pride service. That's always been really special.
Yeah, so many things. And so sometimes offsite is a weird phrase, right? And yet, as we all just noted, it happens in so many remarkable ways. Some of mine, like most transformative memories, are youth trips. And just the way, you know, students lean in, and some you're like, oh God, please just let me get you home. And yet all of it in between is really great. And then, you know, as pastors, we get to be with you all in tender moments. And I remember being with Walter before a procedure, and I just got to hear really great stories. And that's often when those happen, you know. Sometimes it's a source of comfort that you're able to talk about stuff other than what's about to happen. Walter's just a storyteller, so I think that's just Walter. Yeah. But for others, it's, you know, those tender moments where you're there for what feels very simple prayer and presence, and that we usually get ministered to more as pastors in those moments than we often get to extend. And so those are some of the best ones offsite. And for us, for the last 3 months, anyone who brought us a meal, sent us a card, that was church for us. And it was, we didn't get that with Julian. We didn't get to see you all or hear from you in the same ways. And it just meant a lot. And so church offsite looks different in so many dynamics. And the reason we ended with this is part of our gathering season. So gathering season is gathering Sunday to stewardship. So it's really like September and October-ish, mid-October-ish. We're going to be talking about a place at the table, in particular, a place at the table that's on-site, off-site, and online. Because we have extended the table over these 18 months. But as you all noted, the table has been extending for decades. We maybe just didn't name it as such. The table is not just how we view worship or small groups or choir, as we maybe once had. We now see it in so many different ways. And so that's why we ended with this one. The freedom that comes with being able to express church in so many different avenues, reconnecting with those who have moved, as been noted, but also for those who are homebound, whether because they don't feel comfortable yet with COVID or because of other health concerns. Some of our VIPs have felt more connected because they've had different check-ins and different ways of being present with folks. And in some ways they feel more isolated because they've been on lockdown from time to time, but folks know it and are reaching out in different ways. And really, we've seen that through these 3 avenues of church and connection, that maybe the normal pathways that we had at church, whether it's you have a normal route, you walk in, you go to the bathroom, you go to your pew, you go to your classroom, whatever it is, we sometimes get into even physical pathways of where we walk in the church. One of the things I remember somebody noting about this particular group is it crossed a lot of those lines. It blurred different groups because maybe you all didn't share a group previously, but now you have Tuesday midweek. And I think what on-site, off-site, and online offer us is a chance to continue that crossing, that chance to connect with folks we may not usually connect with, and to continue to dream and experience what is to come. So Pastor Ann's going to be preaching on this more. It's also a chance for us in our discernment process around regional affiliation. It's part of that conversation. If we were to change regions, what would that look like if we were to be connected to a region that's not physically in our vicinity? What does that mean? And so these are tools and outlets that allow us to explore differently. And I know from our experience, you all being online with us allowed us to survive our first year of parenting and to survive our first pandemic, which coincided almost 3 weeks to the day. And so we couldn't have survived without you. And now we get to explore what is to come. And so I really enjoyed this because it reminded me, even though this is the topic I had for tonight, I didn't know where it would go. And I am so grateful for all the memories and the ways that you were able to recall being church together in these various avenues of connection. And it's a chance for us to continue that. Since it's our last Tuesday midweek, I will be, yes, sir, Walter.
Not the last.
No,
the
sorry.
team
Yep.
has scheduled the next 2 Tuesday nights. We're going to hear next week from the executive minister of the Evergreen Association. And then 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to hear from Steve Van Ostrand, who's the executive minister of the Rocky Mountain region. So it's a chance to talk with both of them about their regions and about the impact of a potential change.
Yes, thank you, Walter. I meant in the sense of a pastor having content. We are handing it over to the discernment team for discernment things. Yes, just be here same time next week and the week after, and you will be in the right place. But that being said, one of the reasons I'm not going to ask if we want to continue this right now is because so many groups will be starting again in 2 weeks, that we want you to be able to kind of find your new rhythm. It might be that you're on Zoom more because there's more classes being offered that way, or you're back on site, or your schedules have shifted and changed in availability. And so we're going to let that settle in. And then regular attenders, which is all of you, will get an email from me towards the end of September saying, okay, last we talked about it, we said maybe twice a month. Is that still a need and want? What does that look like? And how do we support it? So it is not going away. But this particular group was in particular started because of the pandemic. And we're going to let new rhythms figure out. And if at the end of it, it's like, we still just want to see each other because we don't see each other in our other groups. Beautiful. I will make a schedule and we will come together and we will have check-ins and discussion. But we're going to give it a little breath just so that everybody's schedule can kind of figure out what's a good rhythm. And so that you can honestly say, yeah, the first and third Tuesday of the month is perfect, or second and fourth, or the third Tuesday only, whatever it is, you can have an informed answer instead of, I think this would be a possibility. So we are concluding Tuesday midweek for the summer. Next week, as Walter noted, we will have a Tuesday midweek time slot for our discernment team. So thank you, Walter, Beth, Aaron, and Brenda. I believe I got everybody, Walter, did I? Yay! And the executive minister of the Evergreen Association. Invite people to this. And because these are our chances for folks to learn and engage before the vote on the 26th of the month, I think that's right, it's the last Sunday. We really want people to be present because we want them to feel included and informed. So if you know folks aren't usual Tuesday nighter attenders, give them a little nudge, and then just, remind them in the Zoom links, and just, text it or however you digitally tap somebody on the shoulder. And so we hope to see you all next week, but I am grateful for your presence tonight and just reminding how Calvary and you live out joy and presence of spirits, and just the ways that you are embodying the divine nature that you were created with. And so I am so grateful for each and every one of you. And you will get an email. This is the, virtual sign of emailing from me towards the end of the month once things have kind of started to get back into play. So I invite you to consider that question as you start participating in other things. Is this group something you want to continue? And if so, how frequently? Okay. Thank you for the extra 7 minutes. I just appreciate hearing your stories and your time. So that is all I have, and I wish you all a peaceful and restful good night.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Morgan.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Morgan. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.